So I'm about to get into a subject that a lot of people won't talk about, but you might want to know if you decide to full-time camping. If you start this without a boo, but then you want to start dating, oh boy, it gets interesting. I'm going to tell you about it right here on Hanging with the Hazes.
Coming to the stage is the king of crazy. Let's put our hands together and welcome the king of crazy, Keon Hayes, and Hanging with the Hazes.
What's up, fam?
Yeah!
Show you right.
That's right. Give it up for my main man. Now let's get into this.
So, you now live in a house that moves. And let's say, for instance, you were already dating somebody. 99% sure you've talked to them about it already. It's not that big of a deal. They understand why you're making the move, whatever reason it is, and they probably will just roll with you, okay? Now, let's say, for instance, that situation changes. Y'all ain't booze no more. Or you single when you start, and you decide that you want to jump out there into the dating pool, my bad, whoops. And now you have to explain that you don't have a physical residence. You have a house that moves that has a license plate on it. How does that work? So today, I'm gonna tell you how to make it work, what to say, definitely what not to say, and what you can do to change perceptions of people that you're trying to go out with and meet. Let's rock out for a minute and we'll get right to it. So let's say, for instance, you go on one of the popular dating sites, Facebook dating, Match.com, whatever else, Plenty of Fish, whatever's out there. Okay. And you meet somebody. So the first interaction, of course, is just going to be like any other normal online interaction. Or let's change this narrative. Let's say you meet somebody while you're out and about at the bar. Let's say you meet somebody at a party, somebody introduces, or if you are bold enough to date somebody that you work with, don't do it. But let's just say you do. You're going to get to a point in time where the question of, hey, where do you live comes up. So you always start off with the simple, oh, well, I live in whatever town, Sykesville, let's just say. Oh, okay. And you go out a little bit more. Eventually, the topic of action comes up. These for guys. Yeah, I don't know about women, but let's say for that, sake of time, that topic does come up. And so you got to figure out where you're going to Netflix and chill. Well, depending on the situation, they might want to come back to your house and hang out. And if they do, you now have the responsibility to explain to them that you are technically a very expensive living designated homeless, but you're not. So change the narrative. Listen, I prefer to live in a smaller home. It just so happens that I can hook mine up to my truck and move it, or I can get behind the wheel and drive it. Make it sound exciting. Don't make it sound like you are homeless. Just so what? We pay a lot of money to live like we're homeless, but we're not. That is our home. Now, it also helps that you actually have a driver's license in a state with an address on it somewhere to say that that's where you live for your domicile. But in this case, you just got to be honest. Hey, listen, I live in an RV. Now, most people understand that this is a new trend, just like tiny houses or something like that. Now, as you see, I hope y'all like my new studio. I decided now for this summer that I'm going to, record this outside. You see a unit behind me. I can show you my unit if you like. They're nice. And you always portray it that way. Man, I live in this really nice, trailer, motorhome, whatever the case may be. And this is what I'm choosing to do. It does not have to be an excuse of saving money. It's just this is the way I'm choosing to live right now because I like my freedom and I have the freedom to do that. And give that person the opportunity of accepting that or not. If they don't, listen, they're never going to accept it anyway when they find out. Don't try to press the issue. Don't try to press the relationship. Don't try to make it work. See you later, bye. It's that simple. Move on to the next. Trust me, there's plenty of people out there that will accept the way that you live. Now, once you find somebody that's willing to accept the way that you live, expect there to be some teaching, especially if they are not campers. if they are not campers, you're going to have to teach them how to use the toilet. You're going to have to teach them how to conserve water if you boondock a lot. You're going to have to teach them, like, when we move this is what you have to do. You also have to make sure that you educate them on the nuances of your unit for safety purposes. Never be in front of it, never be behind it when I'm backing up. If you are helping me, those type of things. Just kind of coach them along, teach them, show them how to dump the tanks in case that you're not able or for whatever reason. Just little stuff. You got to kind of, show them along. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most people will appreciate you teaching them. Teach them how to build a fire, teach them fire safety, all that good stuff, especially if they've never camped before. Now, if you are lucky enough to find somebody that knows something about some camping, you in like Flynn. They can do what they do. Enjoy. Marry them, because they do not come like that a lot. But nevertheless, so let's say, okay, you're in the mix, you meet somebody, and now there's the topic of, well, the action. The best thing you can do is just tell them, treat it like it's your house. Now, depending on the campground, you might be pretty close to your neighbors. You might want to close the windows. Definitely close the curtains, because somebody gonna see you running around naked if you don't. But just be respectful. Not everybody, is adults. Some people have kids. So the loud explicitives, you might want to keep that to a minimum. But just like anywhere else, doing anything else, things might be a little cramped and you might not be able to do some of the things that you typically would do in a bedroom. But there's a bed there. There's, sheets, pillows, and everything else, and a mattress. You just gotta deal with the limitations that you have, but don't let it take you out of the mix of having fun with your partner. Just don't do that. You've overcome the biggest hurdle, and that's telling somebody I live in a house that moves. Now, let's kind of jump back a little bit. Let's come away from the action and talk about the actual relationship part of it. At a certain point, depending on how much you trust this person, you do need to let them know that, hey, look, in an emergency, this is my plan. This is what I got going on. Feel free to share that with them. Share with with them, like, where all the important stuff is. If something happens, this is what I need to do. I never lock my door. We live on a policy around here. I wish you would. So I don't have to give keys to nobody. If you trust them enough, give them a gate card to get into the gate of the campground or the code or whatever, if you do have that. But you start building that relationship, and the longer that you're together and the more mature the relationship comes, a lot of things that happen with you and your full-time camping become easier. Here's the one thing that I'm going to tell you right now that you need to be careful about. If you are only temporary in the area, that you need to disclose from the beginning. Because nobody wants to be with somebody that they're already apprehensive about because their house moves, and then all of a sudden one day you ghost them and they're gone. You're gone. Now, unless they're crazy, you really don't want to do that to somebody. So be upfront. Look, I'm only here for 13 weeks. I'm only here for 6 weeks. And let that person determine whether or not they want to kick it with you, because 13 weeks might not be long enough for them to say, hey, I want to go with you, or I'm willing to do something long term. Like, these are some of the huge challenges people face when it comes to full-time camping, and nobody's talking about them. Like, you got to be careful with people's feelings, because the reality is vandalizing a car is one thing, and somebody come and flip your trailer over. There's some crazies out there that I think will do it, so you got to be careful with that. But overall, it's not a bad experience. You can make some things happen. Most people are open to the idea, but the most important thing is teach them how to camp. Leave your campsite if you can every now and then. Now, I will say this: if you don't camp in a campground, like if you're a nomad in a van, you're going to have a much harder time getting a quality person to want to hang out with you. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but more than likely you're going to have to pay for it to get some company, because there is no commitment to stability with that. So if at all possible, and you want to seriously date somebody, pick a campground, pay rent, show some stability, and they more than likely will trust you and like you more than you being, in somebody's driveway. It's just the way that it is. Yeah, that's it. That's really all I got to say about that. You got to make it inviting And if you don't do that, you're not going to date. You're not going to get any action. You're not going to get pretty much anything but a one-night stand and a pickup in a bar. So if you definitely want something more, honesty is the best policy. Transparency is always key. And, you'll find somebody that's willing to get down with you get down. It's not difficult. It's not hard. So if you have a story about you trying to date while you're full-timing, as you see, I've been very censored on this. Hanging with the Hazes Uncensored is the place to tell that story. I'd be more than happy to sit down and we talk about that. You don't have to filter what you're saying. You can, tell us your wild stuff, tell us your not so wild stuff, but we're more interested in the wild stuff because that's what get views and get subscribers. So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing over to my main man, Funky Skunk. It's been a true pleasure hanging out with y'all today. Catch us again, hanging with the Hazes, uncensored. You won't be disappointed. We out of here.
Be sure to join us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and you can always catch us on Facebook and YouTube. Hanging with the Hazes.